Good morning, I'm Bree Driscoll, and here's your Spectrum News in 90. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi and the country's foreign minister are dead after a helicopter crash. 7 others died alongside them. Raisi had been traveling to Iran's East Azerbaijan province. He had been a top contender to succeed the nation's supreme leader. Iranian media reports the bodies of those on board the helicopter are being transported to a nearby city. Former President Donald Trump's hush money trial resuming today, and Michael Cohen, the prosecution's star witness, is taking the stand once again. Testimony for the trial is set to wrap in the coming days. The options in front of the jury: mistrial, acquittal, or the first felony conviction of a former American president.
But most Americans just want to see the border fixed, regardless of who does it.
The Senate is expected to take up the long-negotiated bipartisan border bill this week. The legislation was initially blocked by the Senate in February amid attacks by top House Republicans and former President Donald Trump. Crews in Baltimore are working to move the Dali cargo ship back into the city's port. It comes nearly 2 months after the ship's devastating collision with the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Up to 5 tugboats are being used to transport the nearly 1,000-foot and more than 100,000-ton ship. Those are your headlines. Now here's a look at your weather on the ones.
A very good Monday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand Fuhrer. Here's what you can expect across the country over the next couple days, at least the highlights. So more severe storms from the high plains to the Midwest, damaging hail and wind being the main threats, but you can't rule out a tornado as well. Dangerous heat from the Gulf Coast all the way to Florida, the high humidities, and then out west, some cooler temperatures below average. You can see the blues out west, where the center part of the country and the south warming things up.
Thanks so much for joining us here on Spectrum News. I'm Bree Driscoll. Today is Monday, May 20th. Our top story: a helicopter crash killing Iran's president and the country's foreign minister. 7 others died alongside them. President Ibrahim Raisi had been traveling in Iran's East Azerbaijan province. Iranian media reports the bodies of those on board the helicopter are being transported to the city of Tabriz today. The deaths coming at a time when Iran struggles with internal dissent and its relations with the wider world. Spectrum News anchor Jenny Enoch has the latest this morning.
President Ibrahim Raisi and a foreign minister and 7 other people were killed in the helicopter crash. Now the bodies of those killed will be transported to the city of Tabriz. The second in command in the Iranian political structure killed in a helicopter crash Sunday. The crash happened in the East Azerbaijan province, just northwest of Iran. The president and foreign minister were returning from a ceremony to open a dam on Iran's border. They were 2 of 9 people killed in the crash. Among those on board, the governor of an Iranian province, an imam, Raisi's head of security, and a bodyguard. The crash comes as the Middle East remains unsettled by the Israel-Hamas war, during which Raisi, Iran's supreme leader, launched an unprecedented drone and missile attack on Israel last month. Under Raisi's leadership, there have been significant challenges in recent years, including grim economic conditions.
Obviously, this is going to be something that throws a major wrench into the wheels of the Iranian government and how it has planned to handle the next few years.
President Raisi became president during a historically uncompetitive election in Iran back in 2021 as negotiations took place with the U.S. over how to revive the nuclear deal. And as far as hierarchy goes, he was considered the second most powerful person in the Islamic Republic's political structure after the supreme leader. And according to the Iranian Constitution, in the case of the death of the president, the first vice president will assume an interim role within the approval of the supreme leader. Then there will be a presidential election within 50 days.
And one of the biggest challenges they will face is the succession crisis, and the succession to the next supreme leader. And Raisi was one of the contenders for that position. Some argue that he had been groomed to take over that position, and he is no longer there.
Iran-backed militant groups Hamas and Houthis and Hezbollah have sent their condolences to Tehran over the death of President Raisi. Over the years, Iran has provided military and economic backing to Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah.
But I think it is important to note, however, that this is not a president that was particularly impactful or much of a driving force behind any particular policies. And as a result, it is not a critical person from within the regime that has passed, even though he potentially would have been the next supreme leader.
Iranian state TV gave no immediate cause of the crash, but the weather in the area of the crash was foggy and rainy, causing reduced visibility. Jenna Enoch, Spectrum News.
Former President Donald Trump's hush money trial resuming today, and Michael Cohen, the prosecution's star witness, is taking the stand once again. After 3 days of testifying, Trump's former lawyer returning to court for continued cross-examination. Cohen faced heated questions from the defense on Thursday, using his own social media and podcast to paint him as a liar. Testimony for the trial is set to wrap up in the coming days. The options in front of the jury: mistrial, acquittal, or the first ever felony conviction of a former American president. President Joe Biden delivering a commencement address at Morehouse College in Atlanta yesterday. He discussed faith, his personal experience with grief, and his solution to the war between Israel and Hamas. Spectrum's Daniel Grimes has more on the president's speech to graduates.
President Joe Biden has been trying to court black voters, specifically black men, as several polls show his support is waning among the group. During his graduation address at Morehouse College, an all-male historically black school, the president discussed his experience with loss, the death of his first wife and young daughter in a car accident, and the death of his son Bo to cancer, and he encouraged graduates to hold on to the faith.
Hold on to hope, to move heaven and earth, to make better days. Well, that's my commitment to you, to show you democracy, democracy, democracy is still the way.
The president also discussed the war between Israel and Hamas and called for an immediate ceasefire and a two-state solution as a means to end the war, noting how there is a growing humanitarian crisis in the region.
Innocent Palestinians caught in the middle of all this. Men, women, and children killed or displaced in desperate need of water, food, and medicine.
The announcement that Biden would speak at Morehouse drew some condemnation from alums and faculty who were opposed to the president's handling of the war. There were smaller protests both outside and at the ceremony, including a few students turning their backs during the address. The president even noted his support for peaceful, nonviolent protests, saying voices should be heard. Morehouse's president warned ahead of the speech he would shut down graduation on the spot if there were any major disruptions. There were also a few lighter moments, like when the president talked about his friendship with former President Barack Obama, celebrated the diversity in his administration, and gave a preview of who he'd like to see succeed him.
No doubt that a Morehouse man will be president one day, just after an AKA from Howard.
The president there talking about Vice President Kamala Harris and the historically black sorority, AKA. Now, Biden also making a stop in Detroit Sunday night, speaking at a local NAACP dinner. That signals the importance of Michigan, a swing state the president is hoping to win again this fall. In Washington, Daniel Grimes, Spectrum News.
Coming up on Spectrum News, Sean Diddy Combs issuing an apology after a disturbing video resurfaces from 2016.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Good Monday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand Fuhrer. So it's been a very active spring, especially across the plains. And as we go through the next couple days, it's going to continue. So with the severe weather outlook, we're looking at a slight risk of storms, severe storms stretching from eastern Colorado all the way into the Great Lakes. So that's for today. And then as we go into your Tuesday, the risk gets enhanced, especially in through Iowa, Missouri, and into Illinois. But the green, that's the marginal risk, that spreads across a big swath of the country. Again, damaging winds, possible tornadoes, and hail. So let's time it out with the futurecast. For this morning, here's a line of storms which stretches from Missouri to Wisconsin. That's going to kind of break apart and head up toward the north. And then watch this area here as we go through the evening and into your Tuesday. Watch what happens here. There's Monday early in the overnight hours, South Dakota, Nebraska, also into Iowa. But watch what happens. It really starts to take shape as we go through the day on Tuesday, especially Tuesday morning, South Dakota, Nebraska, moving into Iowa, a few storms in through Wisconsin, Illinois. And then as we head the afternoon on Tuesday, this is where the threats really start to happen, where we get the daytime heating, you get the moist air, the cold air, that all kind of blows up. That's why we have that severe risk as we go through the day on Tuesday. And then as we head into the overnight hours, Tuesday into Wednesday, it moves up into the Great Lakes and things start to settle down just a little bit. So with respect to rainfall, again, severe weather plus heavy rainfall. We've got a stretch from Colorado all the way up into Minnesota there, where we could see upwards of 2 to 4 inches of rain. And that's why the National Weather Service has issued a risk for some severe flooding or heavy flooding as we head into Tuesday, especially in through Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Well, if you're just joining us or heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi and the country's foreign minister are dead after a helicopter crash. 7 others died alongside them. Raisi had been traveling in Iran's East Azerbaijan province. Former President Donald Trump's hush money trial resuming today, and Michael Cohen, the prosecution's star witness, is taking the stand once again. Testimony for the trial is set to wrap up in the coming days. And the Senate is expected to take up the long-negotiated bipartisan border bill this week. The legislation was initially blocked by the Senate in February amid attacks by top House Republicans and former President Donald Trump. And that's a look at what you need to know this morning. Crews in Baltimore are working to move the Dali cargo ship back into the city's port. It comes nearly 2 months after the ship's devastating collision with the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Crews used a series of controlled explosions to get a massive section of the bridge off the ship's bow. That piece was estimated to be about 500 feet and 8 to 12 million pounds. Up to 5 tugboats are being used to transport the nearly 1,000-foot and more than 100,000-ton ship. Well, the Senate is expected to take up the long-negotiated bipartisan border bill this week. The legislation was initially blocked by the Senate in February amid attacks by top House Republicans and former President Donald Trump. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he doesn't expect all Democrats will support the standalone bill, and Republican leaders have already expressed opposition for a revote, making it unlikely the bill will secure enough votes to advance. Sean Diddy Combs issuing an apology after a video from 2016 surfaced showing him beating then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a hotel hallway. The singer admitted to the actions in the video, which was released CNN on Friday. Now, Spectrum News has decided not to show the video as it is graphic and hard to watch. In a video posted to social media, Combs says he was truly sorry while adding his actions were inexcusable. Combs had previously denied Ventura's allegations of assault, which were the basis of a now settled federal lawsuit filed by Ventura in November, and he cannot be charged over the attack. Meantime, Combs is facing a series of civil lawsuits alleging sex trafficking and abuse, all claims he has denied. Cleveland has long been one of the poorest cities in the country with a poverty rate of about 31%. Now that's according to Census Bureau data. Now the city is taking steps towards implementing the nation's first universal basic employment program. The concept would guarantee residents who want to work earn a salary of $50,000 a year with benefits. Spectrum's Nora McEwen has more on the program.
After working in community development for years, Doug Cotton says he started to notice something.
So I realized that our government subsidizes literally everything. We subsidize roadways, businesses, all types of things, but we have failed to subsidize the individual agency and prosperity for the nearly 40 million folks living in poverty.
He says many residents he served received social safety net benefits, whether that be for housing, childcare, food assistance, or anything else. Many wanted to work but had to take low-paying jobs because of what's known as the benefits cliff, meaning if they earn too much money, they risk losing their government benefits, costing them more money in the long run.
And the math just shakes out. It's more advantageous for them to stay at home and be a full-time and full supportive parent than it is to go to work.
That's why Cotton started thinking about what a Universal Basic Employment Program, or UBE, could do for people stuck in the cycle of poverty. The concept is to redirect some government funding from social services to wages for UBE. Any resident who wants to work would earn a salary of $50,000 and receive benefits at their job. UBE would partner with local businesses to pay the workers' wages, and those businesses would be responsible for providing benefits.
Early on, I saw the value of work, what it means to not only be a paycheck, but valued social creation, allowing folks to be the because of and writing the next chapter in their own story.
Been working with the support of Cleveland City Council member Stephanie Howes-Jones and United Way of Greater Cleveland. On Monday, they secured $600,000 from City Council to continue research and design a UBE pilot program over the next 2 years.
Over the next 2 years is when Devin Cotton really makes this idea a reality, and at the end launch a 3-year pilot with 100 participants. That's the goal of this, to make sure that that pilot is designed with a lot of thought.
After those 2 years of research, UBE will launch their pilot program to place 100 Clevelanders in jobs at local businesses earning the established $50,000 salary for 3 years. During that time, they'll assess the program's impact. The price tag for the pilot is $21 million, which United Way is hoping to fundraise for.
Putting 100 Clevelanders to work at a $50,000 salary requires significant infrastructure. It requires continuous conversation, and it requires us to, again, put the businesses and the participants at the center of the work that we're doing.
Cotton says as they continue with this experiment, structures will change and adjust as they learn through community feedback. The ultimate goal being to eventually shift the way leaders across the country think about and invest in social services to expand UBE everywhere. In Cleveland, for Spectrum News, I'm Nora McEwen.
Just ahead on Spectrum News, shrimpers are facing more headwinds after a dismal season. We'll hear from one who is already looking ahead to the next.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Happy Monday to you. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand Fuhrer with a quick check of your travel forecast. So Seattle, comfortable, upper 60s. Portland, LA, upper 60s, low 70s. Marine layers, actually, the low cloud cover out toward the west coast. That's typical for this time of year. Salt Lake City, some showers and thunderstorms. 60s, Denver some 70s and some 90s, heat and humidity in Dallas, and then a few more cities for you. Showers, storms in through Milwaukee, Louisville, hot 90, Austin, hot 93, and then Cleveland some 80s, 70s for New York, and Tampa, hot and humid, dangerously high heat. You had the hot temperatures, the humidity, and yes, of course, you get some dangerous heat. So toward the east, New York and the East Coast, area of low pressure, keeping things a little bit cool, of course, the heat and through the south, and then out west, a couple areas of low pressure, keeping things at average or several degrees below average, especially as you get a little bit closer to the coast. So the high pressure ridge will start to shift a little bit to the north and east as we go through the day on Tuesday. East Coast starts to warm up as the trough exits, and then still keeping things cool out toward the west. As we head into your Wednesday, the heat shifts even farther toward the east, a little bit cooler up toward the Great Lakes, and then things start to warm up as you head into New England and the East Coast. So for your Monday, we are cooler out west. So anywhere from, well, Portland being at average to about 15 degrees below average for Salt Lake City. And then from Dallas to St. Louis, Milwaukee, Columbus, anywhere from about 5 to 15 degrees above average. And it sure feels much hotter. So temperatures in the low 90s, yeah, the humidity feels more like 100 degrees. So dangerously hot out there. Columbus, 90, some heat for you. Phoenix, not too bad at 88, and you see the 60s and 70s across the East Coast or the West Coast, and then the East Coast generally 80s, 70s, and some 60s. And then as we head into your Tuesday, Dallas goes to 90, a little bit warmer for Boston, 84, Columbus 90, staying pretty stagnant down and through the Gulf Coast there, and ever so slightly warmer on the West Coast. So temperature trend for Tampa. We're above average in the 90s, hot and humid here for the next several days. A little bit cooler for Dallas, low 90s, and cooling down by Thursday into the 70s. And then St. Louis, Missouri, average for you, 78. Will drop back down to average beginning on Wednesday.
Well, it's graduation season, and at Vermont State University Castleton, one lucky cat receiving an honorary degree. Literally, a lucky cat. Max, a beloved member of the school's community, receiving a Doctor of Literature. The campus is honoring the feline not for his mousing or napping, but for his friendliness. Max the cat has been an affectionate member of the Castleton family for years, the school said in a Facebook post. The popular tabby lives in a house with his human family on the street that leads to the main entrance to the campus. Shrimping season is over until it starts back up in July. However, some shrimpers say they're wondering what next season will look like after a dismal year. Our Lauren Kendrick is in Texas with more.
There's a very, 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 very pinhole size of hope at the end of the tunnel. little hope for the shrimpers. Down in the Rio Grande Valley, shrimpers in Port Isabel, like EJ Cuevas, are winding down their shrimping season with little to look forward to. Cuevas is a third-generation shrimper who owns and operates Cuevas Trawlers.
We have 11 shrimp boats in total.
However, most of those have not touched the water lately.
The shrimp prices were just slowly going down, 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 and down, and down, and down. And then fuel prices going up. So it got to the point where a lot of us, even before January, just tied up the boats.
Halting regular plans.
And some of us do send boats to Florida to shrimp in Florida, but this year we didn't. We just stopped everything.
According to the Texas State Historical Association, the Texas shrimping industry has faced a number of economic problems over the last 4 decades. But Texas shrimping has remained a viable industry. Cuevas says that has changed.
I mean, the entire United States shrimping industry is suffering a lot. I think it's gotten to the point where it's affecting all of us in, very drastic aspects.
Cuevas says the shrimp are out there, but the import industry is killing the one here at home. Cuevas says the import shrimp is coming from countries like Vietnam, Ecuador, Indonesia, China, and India, flooding the market for the U.S. shrimping industry, making the domestic shrimp drop to the lowest price it's been in years.
We need to put a big halt on imports. A huge halt on imports. It's not giving us an opportunity to be on a level playing field with the rest of the shrimp market.
Making the profit minimal for all of the hard work put in.
Behind that shrimp, every shrimp that you eat that's caught in the U.S., I mean, a family or hardworking person, it went through all of our hands to get to y'all's plate.
Now wondering what next season will bring. In San Antonio, Lauren Kendrick, Spectrum News.
And you can always stay connected with us here at Spectrum News by getting your national and local headlines on the go. Just download the free Spectrum News app. It's available in the App Store and on Google Play. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."